To Bishop Barris, Bishop Koenig, Bishop Brennan, Bishop Anjay, my brother priests and deacons, and all of our family, many friends and parishioners. On behalf of my family, may I extend to you our heartfelt thanks for your kindnesses and prayers and support shown to our family these past days. May I also take this opportunity to thank Monsignor Frank Caldwell and the staff here at Cure for their Christ-like hospitality and pastoral care. Cure has been our family parish for almost 60 years, and it's only right that we bring Mom here today to this parish church where she worshiped and prayed and loved so much. May I share with you that my mother loved the TV series MASH. For you younger folks, MASH was the stories about doctors and nurses serving in a mobile army surgical hospital during the Korean War. The life was tiring and draining as they attempted time and time again to save the lives of those young soldiers wounded in action. Besides being very poignant at times, and often quite funny, there were also times of pain, frustration, and loss. The show also included the lifestyle of the doctors and nurses that was not always on the straight and narrow, one might say. I often wondered how my mother, who was quite moral and upright, saw these characters sometimes behaving in not so moral behavior. I don't think she overlooked them or excused them. She saw them as human. These were people who treated people who were gravely wounded and in pain. My mother always had great compassion for those in pain and were suffering. Perhaps that's why what led her into nursing. She had great sympathy for those who helped folks that were hurting. That's one of the reasons she could never watch scary horror movies, especially when someone was being chased or threatened or was in grave danger. She never wanted anyone to be hurt. In MASH, there were often scenes of triage. That was where the doctors had to make a life-threatening decision about who was hurt the most and who needed immediate treatment and whose wounds could wait. I think my mom spent a great deal of her life in triage. How could you not, with raising 7 children and delighting in grandchildren and great-grandchildren? Whether it was gently soothing a bruised knee, making a grilled cheese sandwich, playing poker or crossword puzzles, sharing a plate of mussels, or in much more serious and profound moments. Her whole life was spent in offering love, support, counsel, advice, whether wanted or not, care and concern. She continually strived to be the best person she could be. My mother never tired of learning new things, trying new experiences, continuing to read and grow, always looking to grow in wisdom and knowledge. That's the life St. Paul refers to in the letter to Timothy, a life poured out in loving service to God through loving her church, her family, her neighbors, and friends. Like St. Paul, my mother has finished the race. She has kept the faith. We pray that as her departure has now come, our good Lord will gift her with the crown of righteousness that Merit read to us, that awaits all of us who have also been faithful and kept the faith. Though my mother was so very blessed in so many ways, and she knew this intensely and was so very grateful for the life that had been given her, it was not always easy. She had to deal with the death of her mother at a young age and how her family life was affected by that, the loss of her brother, Uncle Bruce, the loss of Owen and the other 4 lost pregnancies, and the death of our father, her husband for 56 years. Her great faith to God and devotion to our Blessed Mother carried her through these losses. They were her strength. Again, she kept the faith. That's why I chose today's gospel from Matthew. Jesus says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart. You will find rest." I believe this is how my mother lived her life, accepting whatever the Lord gave her in good times and in bad, and knew that the Lord would be with her, always helping her to carry any burden she may have had to bear. Again, she kept the faith. Isn't that what the Lord asks of each of us? to learn from him who is meek and humble of heart. At my father's funeral here at Curie 13 years ago, I asked his 19 grandchildren to stand up. At that time, there was only one great-grandchild, with one on the way at any moment. Today, I ask all of the great-grandchildren to stand. There are 26 now and 3 on the way. Dear kids, learn from Mom. Remember how she loved each one of you. Like her, never stop learning and growing in knowledge and wisdom. And most importantly, remember Mom's great faith in God, the Blessed Mother, and how devoted she was to the practice of her Catholic faith. You will honor her memory if you follow in her footsteps all of your life, a life of being faithful to the Church, growing in your faith. You can now be seated. My mother was very fond of the show Blue Bloods. One of the things she liked best was how each episode ended. It ended at a family meal. Though each one of the family members was so very different, they always gathered together to share that family meal and bond together. She believed and wants us to continue to believe that family makes us strong. So we will continue to tell her stories, her love for those zany Cary Grant comedy movies, taking us sledding near the parkway, playing cards, years ago playing hide and seek, putting little Peggy and Beth and Jerry into the shelves of the empty linen closet in Orangeburg when we were moving down here. The many, many wonderful Sunday happy hours and dinners and backyard parties at Central Parkway. Times in Florida, times at the cabanas, the baptisms, first communions, and confirmations that so many of you shared with us, and so much more. We will continue these events remembering her. In the last couple of weeks, the life of my mother was experiencing hallucinations. Many gave her great comfort. Some, unfortunately, were frightening. I was lucky to spend some time with her when she was having a wonderful time, seeing family and friends, both living and past. She would see someone and make a comment or say something, and then close her eyes saying, "Such wonderful memories, such great times. I am so grateful." At one moment, she looked at the corner of the room. Who she saw, I'm not sure. She didn't seem to recognize this group, but wanted to join in, and she said, "Look at them. They're singing and having a wonderful time." Then I believe she remembered the first reading. She knew where they were from. She called out to them, "When you get to the pearly gates, and I'm not there in the palm of God's hands, throw me a rope and pull me up." Mama, without a doubt, this day we're in the hands of God.